No, it was right after the revolution, and there were too many Mexicans in Texas, and they just said, let's get rid of them. So they put us in cattle cars, and they sent us off to different places, some to Chicago, some to St. Louis. Some in my family chose to come to California, and we wound up here. They used to have a lot of walnut trees here and fruit trees. There wasn't this much grape. At that time, it wasn't the grape center that it is this moment. So we came here, and I loved, my father and my family came here, and we loved having this kind of thing to live in. We lived in a tent, and those were the happiest years of my life, really. There was nothing to feel sorry for me. I wasn't poor, I wasn't anything. I had 4 meals a day, and it was wonderful.
Coming to the present, this film here, how did you first get involved with it?
Well, they sent me the script about 6 months ago, and I had heard of the director. I'd seen the picture he made, Water and Chocolate, and I liked it very much. It was very unusual. And I heard that he was going to do a picture, but not this one, another one after this. And that was the picture I was hoping to do with him. And suddenly they called me and he says he wants you to do the Love in the Clouds. And what part? They said the part of the patriarch of the family. And I thought about it. I said, yeah, I don't want to start doing patriarchs yet. But I think it's an interesting, lovely part, and I'll probably find something new in it. So I'm beginning to enjoy it tremendously.
Now, is it not the second time you're working with Giancarlo Giannini?
Yes. We worked on another wine picture, Secret of Santa Victoria, with Anna Magnani and Verna Lisi. It was a lovely picture, really made with great love by a man named Stanley Kramer, and it was a marvelous picture, but people just, for some reason, they weren't interested. I mean, they had nothing to refer to in their lives, that the Germans wanted to steal all our produce, millions of bottles, and the drama was how to hide millions of bottles in 2 days. And we did it. And but I've done a picture like that before. I did a Pope in Shoes of the Fisherman. And I played a Russian Pope that came from Russia. And suddenly finds himself in the Vatican. And they're just about to elect a new Pope. Because John Gielgud, the old Pope, has just died. And they vote for me to be the Pope. And the last thing I expected was for him to vote for me. It was a wonderful picture, but the audiences, it's a fable. Who? I mean, who's going to elect a Russian Pope? That's crazy. Yeah. That's a fable, it's a lie. So nobody believed it, nobody went to see the picture. I thought it was a wonderful picture, and interesting thing, it was a prophetic picture, because just 10 years later, we had the Polish Pope near Russia, so it was right enough. And Mr. West, who wrote the book, was really a prophet. In his own way, he prophesied the fact that the Pope would come from the north.
How do you compare the way Alfonso works with other?
You can't. I worked with 300 directors. They each work their own way. You cannot say he works. Well, there are some, but they're traffic cops. They say, everybody goes here, now this time, everybody goes there. You go there, you go. I mean, those kind of directors are traffic cops. But when you talk about talent, to tell this kind of story against this kind of background, you're talking about a pretty talented man to be able to tell a story. Because the the background overtakes the foreground of the story. So you better handle the foreground very well. And the man is doing it. He's telling a story about grape pickers and a young man who comes into this kind of life and is amazed by what he finds. The philosophy behind the grape is really quite amazing. Quite a wonderful history, as a matter of fact, from the Greeks and the Belgium and France, Italy, Spain, and that's where the grapes come from Spain.
The scene you were doing here that we saw you in, what was that scene?
That was a scene just the beginning of the actual thing of the women jumping into the vat to crush the grapes with their feet in a dance that's basically an Aztec ritual, an Aztec dance. And I have vineyards in Italy, and the women also do. But interesting enough, they do another dance. They do an Italian dance, and that's quite remarkable, really. But this is quite wonderful. And there's a great difference between, I'm sure in your country they have a different way of dancing on the grapes.
What about Keanu Reeves? What's
I like him. I love the boy. I think he has, well, I'll tell you, I love him so much that I've just written a script about my life. And I said to him, too bad you're not 10 years older, damn it. I would love for you to play that part of my life, my first part of my life. Because, you know, you say that to somebody, and he says, well, I don't want to play his life, well, what can it be? I said, you know, in my first 10 years, I met the greatest people of the time. I met Rachmaninoff, I met the greatest cellists, I met the greatest singers, I met Greta Garbo, I met Rudolph Valentino, I met Charlie Chaplin, and I had a relationship with all these people. So my life was much more interesting then than it is now. I mean, I don't know where to go and look for Charlie Chaplin or one of the great directors, Griffith, or all those people that I grew up with. And I met the greatest people in the first 30 years of my life.
Looking back at your wonderful career, is there any film or group of films that stand out as
They're about silly to say, about 12 to 16 pictures that I really love. And some of them maybe you never saw, but I love some of them. I loved the Oxbow Incident because it was the first psychological Western that was ever made. And it kind of, all the Westerns that followed it were following the concept of Oxbow Incident. And I played a wonderful character in that. Of course, everybody thinks of me as Greek for having played Zorba the Greek. But I made many pictures. Lawrence of Arabia was a wonderful picture. Guns of Navarone was a great picture. Viva Zapata, I won an Oscar for it. Excuse me. But I made a picture called Wild as the Wind with Anna Magnani that I thought was absolutely marvelous. I did Hunchback of Notre Dame with Gina Lollobrigida, and I thought that was a marvelous picture. But Requiem for a Heavyweight, because I fought with Cassius Clay when he was a young man, and I stayed in the ring eight rounds with him. That must have been some kind of accomplishment. So I've had my, not yet, I haven't really had my fill of pictures yet. I feel there's 3 pictures I have to do before I quit. I have to play Picasso, I have to play Tolstoy, and I have to play, I want to direct the story of my life. And that'll be it. And I'll hang up the hat, say thank you very much, goodbye. Bye. We've had it.
when people see you on the street, how do they react?
You know, it's a very interesting thing you should ask that, because I live in the most, one of the most busiest streets busiest city in the world, New York. And it's wonderful because it embarrasses me to say it. They don't ask me for autographs. They don't bother me. They respect my being, because when I walk alone. They respect that. But they all say, "How do you do, Mr. Quinn? How are you? Thank you so much for all the years of pleasure you've given us." And that is the most wonderful thing I've ever heard in my life. Thank you for all the years of pleasure. I've been part of people's lives for 60 years. And that's quite an accomplishment.
Why pick Italy to set up? Why did you choose to move to Italy?
Well, because in 1953, we were having a crisis in America. We had McCarthyism in America. And I thought that there was very little room for me because the blue-eyed, blonde leading man was the man that they really admired. And I thought I'd get into, and I was very excited by the realistic movement in Italy by Fellini, Rossellini, and all the directors there. And they were making the new kind of films with morality, films with content. And I decided to move and go to Italy. And I stayed there I still have a home there. And I had 3 wonderful sons there. And I just made my life in Italy, that's all, because I was part of the new movement in motion pictures.